away from spending time in the marula trees themselves, and the reason why is because the marula trees now are going to start losing their leaves, and so they aren't very shady, and it means that it's not the greatest place for a leopard to spend an afternoon trying to get out of the sun. You'll find that they're going to start heading more towards drainage systems where you're going to have jackalberries and scotias that will keep their leaves through the winter. Right, well, while I go and check trees and check Gallagher Pan and see if I can't find anything this side, let's go back to Miss McCurdy and see if she's had any further signs of those leopards, and I believe she's at a waterhole of her own.
We haven't seen too much more of those leopards or any tracks or evidence just yet. What we have found is a large herd of impala at twin dams coming down for their daily drink. Now, some of them maybe have already had a sip of water. I'm not so sure. They don't seem to be all sort of flocking down at the same time. What I'd like to do, though, is I'd actually like to reposition and go around the top and see if we can't get a better view of these impala. Maybe even if I sneak in through this gap. That might be quite nice because there's a whole lot coming down from the right. Let's quickly do that. Let's reposition. They might move slightly, but they'll go back. They're fairly thirsty. We'll just see how they react. I'm just going to go onto this little two-track here. It runs around these trees and towards the dam. It's a big herd of impala. Very pretty. Oh wow, yes, this is going to be quite nice. We'll just poke our nose in over here. And look at that. We can try. I just don't want to scare these guys off. I think if I go any further, I'm going to scare those impala that are drinking. There we go. One is giving us a reflection shot. Fergus decided we're only doing reflections of animals today. So it may look like they're upside down, but I promise they're not. But that's beautiful. And now you can see what I was saying. It's really not a breath of wind today. It's like glass. And quite great. Actually, I might need to have to go and check my hair and my makeup, Fergus. No, I'm only teasing. Hey? Oh, heaps of it. It's Le Dust that I use. It's this really nice coarse textured base. I'm of course talking absolute nonsense. Come on, Impala, come down to have a drink. Now, Lara Moy, you've said that the light is so beautiful. It is really incredible at this hour. I don't even know what the time is now. Oh, it's 25 to 5 in South Africa at the moment. So yes, it is perfect. It has definitely gone to golden hour now. We don't have much of this beautiful light left. You can already see how the shadows have casted over the dam and just illuminating the impala just off to the left. And I'm sure they're appreciating and enjoying the last warmth of the afternoon before it gets all chilly again. But this is quite nice seeing them come down to have a drink. Now, it's not quite like Brent where we've got 12 different species around the dam. At the moment, I can really just see the impala. I'm having a look to see if there's any doves or perhaps any blacksmith lapwings around. I think there's one blacksmith lapwing walking around at the moment. So we've got 2 different species at the dam. But look at those youngsters, all pushing and shoving each other right at the water's edge. Now be careful, you 3. You've got a lot to learn. And you're lucky that Boris the crocodile or Vladimir is not here waiting for you, because that would be disastrous. And that's so sweet. A young male grooming a young female. It's amazing how they all come together and how sort of strong the bond is between the various members of this herd. And to think about it, and I suppose it's why it's so difficult and confusing for the young males, is that next year they're all going to be chased out. They're all going to be told to go on their way. Oh, but that's beautiful. A very intimate moment. Oh, very sweet. I groom you, you groom me. And of course, as you know, the bottom teeth of the impala are loose. I still want to find an impala skull so we can have a look at it. And that is really nice. You can see that how that bottom lip moves down. And that helps groom their coats exceptionally. Get all those ticks off. There we go. Getting the hard to reach spot around the ears, which is an area that the ticks definitely congregate. And you can't groom yourself. You need some help. So look at that. They take turns. Okay, you get a turn and then I'll give you a turn, a couple of seconds, and then you groom me again, and this process just goes on for the entire day. Sometimes I groom myself, I scratch my own back, or my leg. Very flexible. Now see why you said look at their tails. I'm looking at their tails. They're gorgeous. You see that those beautiful black markings, those stripes going down, and then that slight bit of white just sticking out on either side of the tail too. They've got that nice white flash underneath it. And that's, of course, a follow me sign. All the different animals out here have got different follow me signs. And the greatest one, I think, of all has to be the warthog. I think that's the most iconic sign. Or even maybe the waterbuck, that could give the warthog a run for its money too, with a white ring around their bottoms. But they're very relaxed. They don't seem to mind us moving around here at all. That's quite nice. But this is the hour now that the animals are going to really start to get active. I'm a bit sad we haven't found any elephants yet. So I think we're going to go towards Treehouse Dam again and see what's arrived there. Beard, you said a McCurdy hurdy? I suppose. And I actually... Whoa! Did you see that? That Impala played a game of elephant poop soccer, I suppose you could call it. It's got a bit inquisitive and rolled the dung down the hill and then gave it a fright. But now look, they're all like, what is that thing floating? Look at that curious behavior. Isn't that amazing? But yes, Beard, I suppose that could be a variation of the McCurdy hurdy. An Impala hurdy. It's amazing how they entertain themselves. How that floating piece of elephant dung, they're all watching it very carefully. You can't go and play with it. You see, it's just sitting in the water all lonely now. That was so funny. I don't think I've ever seen an Impala do that before. Roll the dung down. And if only they knew what a great game they could actually have. Wonderful. Right, let's keep moving. Let's go searching. Actually, let's go do a quick lap around Twin Dams first. And then we're going to go and find the actual McCurdy hurdy. Right. Bye, Impala! Now here's a question I haven't thought of for quite some time, and it's from John. And the question is, what do you think the animals think of us humans? I think they must think that we're so annoying. Hang on, I'm actually going to see... Don't run. Hi, guys. No, I don't want to scare you. It's okay. I won't bother you. That's actually quite beautiful, the way that they were all looking at us. No, now they're going. Never mind. Well, maybe it's still very pretty the way that they're funneling here. We'll just let them move on. I'm not sure what the animals think of us. I think they're quite curious as to what we actually are, because we sound like humans, we smell like humans, but we don't behave like humans in the cars, in the vehicles. That's beautiful. All the different stripes now going down their bottoms, all aligning. That's a very pretty shot. There's another wallpaper. I like that. Take some screenshots of those. That's really good. That's also a photo that I try and get often, is all the heads and the follow me signs in line. But of course, when I would like to take a picture, do you think that the animals cooperate? No. So I think that they have jokes as well, John. I think they sort of see, how can we annoy those things today, meaning us in the cars? I'm sure they laugh at us, and I'm sure they turn their nose up at us often with the different smells that come from the vehicles. Remember, we cover ourselves in harsh chemicals, so I can't imagine we smell too nice. And then I think something like the elephants must be quite curious with all the foods that we often have in the cars too, all the fruits and things. Right, let's keep going. Let's go check the boundary very quickly. Lots of different little animals, a couple of birds moving about now. I'm just going to go past you this time. Bye, Impala. Off they go. That's really pretty. Right, I didn't want to stop there now and just disturb them once again. Sometimes the technique of just driving straight past an animal is very nice, but a beautiful sunset nonetheless. Just starting to. Now, John, you're wondering if we've seen the brown-headed parrots lately. No, I can't say that I saw them the other day, but I haven't. There goes a little car. Bye, little car. Off it goes, obviously dropping some stuff off. I will just wait for the dust to settle behind them. I think Tristan morning, so that's possibly the case. We'll have to ask Tristan that question. Right, let me just see what's happening with this dust. Going to let it settle before we drive along this road, otherwise I am going to get covered in the dust, and I'll have a nice, maybe I'll have, my skin will look so, and sort of without all my little freckles on it. Maybe I'll get rid of them. Maybe it's a whole new technique. Alright, let's go have a look. Oh, Fergus, listen to you. Aren't you just the charmer? Fergus is throwing out nice little lines there, but thank you. Your skin is also just so perfect, Fergus. What are we doing in this career? Obviously that's complete nonsense. Right, I don't know where we're going to go from here. I know Tristan's tracking a leopard at the moment. I don't know whereabouts he is, or I've had my game drive radio because it hasn't stopped going, and I sometimes find it difficult to concentrate because trying to listen to the directors and listen to what the game drive radio has to say, so I often just whoops. Not Alice. Alice can be heard the whole time. I have to turn the radio down every now and then. But I think this is not a bad area to just come and drive and just check around here. They cross in and out constantly. We're going to bump into Tristan. We're about to pop out exactly where he's going. So we've driven these areas up and down probably about 4 or 5 times now. We've literally just been doing loops around Weaver's Nest, Shibamo, Savage's Track, Treehouse Dam. We're going to go back towards Treehouse Dam though. Maybe we'll go further. I think we'll go up to Shibamo again. Let's look down the road and see if we can see Tristan. I can't see Tristan just yet. Let me just check these tracks here. There's a hyena. Now Russ, you're wondering what coalition is in charge of this area. I presume you're talking about lions. The Birmingham boys, there's 4 males that are around here, and they come from the Timbavati. So the 4 of them sort of spread themselves out over quite a large section of the northern Sabi Sand. So we hear them almost every single night, and we see their tracks on the ground. They don't necessarily stay on one property because they have to travel so far every single day, declaring that it is theirs. And if they don't, of course, move around and they stay in one spot, then they run the risk of losing their territory to other lions. And there will always be lots of young male lions sort of coming up and trying to challenge these older boys, though they've just come into their reign now, so I think that they might have a few more years, but anything can change. Really, it can change so quickly. All we need is 5 big male lions to move down from northern Kruger. Perhaps they get booted out and they could quite easily challenge these boys. And again, if they're not together all the time, when new males come in and they get caught sort of 2 together versus 5 lions, they really don't stand a chance. And a new coalition could pick them off one by one using that technique too. Which is, oh, Tristan. Oh, okay. So it seems as though Tristan has stolen my leopard sighting. That's nice. We've been tracking leopards all day. Okay. Well, we would have eventually found a leopard. I don't know what leopard has been found, but I've just seen Tristan now. He's going past it. We worked so hard, Fergus. We worked so hard searching for those cats the whole afternoon. Oh well, maybe next time we'll get them. Right, let's carry on. Let's go drive somewhere else. Maybe we get some nighttime elephants. Perhaps the elephants will come through for us. Right, off we go. Now Kim, as we drive along, speaking about, well, longing for elephants actually, wondering if we see a lot of them. We do, it just depends on the season, and because the animals here are doing mini migrations all the time essentially, they're not doing the massive migrations like we see in Kenya or Tanzania or any of those areas, even in Zambia. So they're just moving from spot to spot to try and find the greenest grass, the greenest leaves, the best quality water. So we're starting to see elephants again, and hopefully we'll keep seeing more of them, and the buffalo will arrive too. But I'm going to send you across to Tristan now, who seems to be on his way or tracking down a leopard of some sort.
Well, indeed we are. We're busy just trying to get into position because Taxon found us. a leopard, which is amazing news. So we're going to try and see if we can't just get round. Tax is just showing me where to go, so I'm just busy watching him. I don't obviously want to chase the leopard in any way, because I'm not quite sure who it is. Now, he's busy moving off. So it looks like little Hosana is there. Now, he's just gone behind the bush. Of course he would. So I'm going to just try and see, because it looks like he's going back the way that we just came. So I'm going to try and just see if I can't quickly get round back onto the road itself, because it seems like he's busy moving. Now, this is super cool. So just quickly saying hello to everybody, because they're all people that we know. Now, this particular sort of area is where we've just driven, so I'm a little bit kind of surprised that we didn't get to see him. We just came past here not long ago at all, and I heard that when they found him, he had just killed a little francolin. So he has had a little meal. I don't know how big a francolin it was, or if it was just a very small one, but it seems like he has killed one. But here he is, just on our left-hand side. Hello, boy. Look how good he's looking. He's such a cool leopard. I really enjoy spending time with this cat. I'm going to try just see if I can't sneak forward, because he's just behind that bush, and there's a little road here that we can maybe get a nice clear view of him. And there's also cars behind us, so I want to just try and get forward so that they can also see. But there we go. There he is. Isn't he beautiful? He's one of the most magnificent leopards I've seen. He's got this beautiful gold coat. Now, I wonder where he's going to. I think he might head off towards Twin Dams. He's striding his way straight east. So, Freebury, you saying that you're excited to see the little prince, and nice job, Tax. Well, I agree. Tax has done a very good job, and it's more probably Tayla than anybody else, because Tayla was the one that picked up these tracks first. So we owe a big debt to Tayla as well. So I'm a bit sad that she didn't get to find it, and unfortunately I thought she was actually further away than she was. Otherwise I would have let her come in before me for sure. So we can have to say a big thank you to Tayla. She's definitely helped us to be able to see old Hosana. Now we're going to play a game of leapfrog with the vehicles, because he is moving straight down the road. But there we go, he's stopped now, so we can maybe actually see him. So Laurie, you're saying, wow, he's getting big. He is. He's starting to get really thick around the shoulders. Much like Tingana has that same sort of thick shoulder area and neck area. It's the exact same with Hosana. He's got those big shoulders, and he's getting almost that dewlap and thicker neck. So it really is amazing to watch how big he's getting. And I'm sure with time, the more he's sort of feeding and the more he's getting, food, and even something as small as a francolin, that's all adding nutrients, and it's going to make him sort of get bigger and bigger. And look at him sort of standing in the road. He's standing very proud and looking around. What has he seen? He spotted something definitely up ahead of us. I wonder if he hasn't seen some more francolins. Look, he's going into that trot, and you can see he's gotten much lower. Look, he's stalking. What have you seen, boy? Oh, he just missed it. He tried to chase a francolin. Did you see that? Well, it's close, my boy. Well done. But you can see that instinct is there, and he's definitely trying his very best to catch anything that is around. And this is how it is for a young male leopard. Oh, that light on him is amazing. They're going to go after all of the smaller things while they're still younger, and he'll hone his technique on these francolins. While the francolin is not ideal in terms of a food item, it's still practice for when he's going to chase things like duiker and steenbok and varying other types of small mammals. Now I'm going to just try to get a little bit closer, because the light on him at the moment is absolutely beautiful. Oh no, he's just come out of the patch of light. I was hoping he was going to stay in it. So James, you say Hosana is looking so fit and healthy, and that it's great to see him. Well, yes, it is. He's looking fantastic, and I'm really, really happy that we get to spend some time with him. And I'm hoping from where he is now is that he's going to go all the way down to Twin Dams, and hopefully he'll rest up on the dam wall there, and we'll get to spend this beautiful afternoon with this great light on him down at Twin Dams. Now I'm just staying back a little bit and letting him walk, because the vehicle's in front. As I was saying to you earlier, I've got some friends of mine that are leading a photographic group, and I don't want to be in their photograph as they photograph the beautiful little prince moving down the road. So I'm going to let him walk and carry on towards their vehicle. There we go. Hello, boy. He is so pretty. Look at those eyes. Yes, we're talking about you. Yes, we are. What have you seen? Maybe he just wants to say hello to all of you and show his beautiful face. Yes, looks like he's turning around and coming back towards us. Oh, look at that light as he strolls through this gold afternoon light. There is nothing better. And he's starting to get that real male sort of look about him. Males have this big, chunky sort of look, and they tend to have this... I wonder if there's not more Franklins. Look, he's busy stalking again. This is so cool. Are you going to pounce into that grass again, young man? Definitely noticed something again. I'm sure there's more Franklins in here, and I wonder if these Franklins aren't just moving about, and that's what triggered his ears. Isn't it amazing the senses that this cat has? The fact that he was walking down the road and strolling, there's cars moving around, and he was still able to hear the noise of something moving in the grass behind him is absolutely astounding. That over the noise of our voices, and the fact that he can discern the difference between our voices, because he undoubtedly will be able to hear me talking, then that's over something moving in the grass that is a potential prey item. It always fascinates me watching these cats move around like this. And I think whatever he heard, he's not 100% sure of, because you can see he's kind of still looking around. He's not as focused as he was when he went into that initial stalk and tried to dive onto that Franklin. You are gorgeous, my boy. So Rebecca, you say, was Hosana not one that I was following once on bushwalk? Well, yes, we've been lucky enough, all the presenters, to have spent a bit of time with Hosana on foot. So I know that James and Brent and Jamie have all seen him on foot. I haven't actually spent too much time with a bushwalk live with him on foot. I actually had him outside of a live segment on foot when he was right next to me, and I didn't even see him until the last second, and he was maybe not even a meter away from me and kind of just staring at me with these big eyes, as you can see there. So I have seen him on foot a few times, but I don't think I've had him live on foot. I've had Shongile a few times. She was magical to have on foot. She always used to just spend time relaxing and sitting very close to us, and they were such special animals. And it's so good that we're starting to see evidence of them moving back into this area again, albeit right on the southern boundary. And it seems like we flirt with the southern boundary all the time when trying to view these two cats, but the fact of the matter is at least there's signs of them again, and they're coming back into this area. What have you seen, boy? I love when they get into this posture. Look how he's just trying to peer over the grass. You are so magnificent. And you can see how tall he's getting now as well. He's getting bigger. He really is a very, very pretty cat indeed. I wonder if there aren't little Franklins just in the grass that he's just watching. You might find that there's not only Franklins, but that there are, maybe there could be a little Steenbok or a little Duiker that may be in that area as well. He's definitely listening to something. Now, I'm hoping that he's going to turn northwards, because he's right on the main road, and that's causing quite a traffic jam at this stage. There's a number of vehicles that are building up, so I'm hoping he's going to turn around and start moving back towards Treehouse Dam, because it will certainly be a lot quieter for him as well as us. But he is magnificent. I'm sure whatever it was that was moving around, he's maybe not able to see. It could have been something small, even like a little mouse, or a bushveld gerbil. We do get fat rats here as well, so they might something like that, and he just can't actually see it or hear it anymore. Also, with Franklins and a lot of other types of small animals like that, when they sort of hear something around, they'll actually slide down and stay as still as possible in order to try and avoid being seen or heard. And so it could be a potential prey item has just gone dead quiet inside there, sitting as still as possible and hoping that the leopard moves away. And he's just now playing the patience game, where he's trying to watch and listen and hope that that animal then decides to move again. Now, Christopher, you say he's beautiful. Well, indeed he is, and he's looking so magnificent at the moment. I'm surprised also that he's looking a lot fuller than when I saw him. I think it was yesterday morning, or was it the day before when we saw him? And he was looking much, much skinnier than what he is now. He's definitely been able to catch something. So besides the Franklin that he just caught now, it looks like there's a little bit of a swell in the belly. Look, he's ready to pounce. Oh, he's gone back down again. I don't think he's quite sure just yet, but definitely almost getting ready to pounce into that long grass. Look at the tail. The tail is such a telltale thing when it comes to leopards. When they're excited, that little tail starts to twitch, and it almost indicates their sort of mood that they're in when they get this sort of moment where they want to try and move, and the tail twitches a little bit. But he's decided, obviously, that that's enough, and now we're going to carry on downwards. A little flick of the tail, and off he goes. And I love the way leopards walk. Their kind of bandy legs that they have, and the tail that flicks. So cool. But we are going to follow him along and see where he gets to. He is, like I say, going straight towards Twin Dams at this stage, so we are going to try and just keep up with him. But I want to give him a bit of space, so as we, like I say, give our photographers. Now, while we follow Hosana along and see where he goes to, let's go across to Tayla, who I believe has got another predator of the African bush.
How massive is this crocodile, and what a great view, because we're almost eye level with him. Isn't that great? That's a different angle, one that I have not seen for quite some time. And the more often we see these crocodiles, the bigger and bigger they actually start to look, whether it's because I haven't seen any giants, because I haven't been to Zambia, I haven't been to Kenya just yet, and where there are really big crocodiles, but he is enormous, and you actually see him breeding every now and then, which was really cool when we were up close. But he looks in very good condition. I can only imagine the amount of fish that this crocodile must actually be feeding on. It's got very clean white teeth too. Looks like you brush them on a regular basis. What a cool thing. Now this is an amazing screenshot. I wish my lens was long enough that I could get this view that you've got right now. This is so beautiful. So you're going to have to share them with us. Remember, hashtag Safari Live, because that is really, really, really great. And of course, that's one of the amazing things out here in the Sabi Sand, is that we are able to get these up close and intimate shots with the animals. Isn't that great? That is probably one of the most amazing things I've ever seen. Look at all the scales on its body. We can see them clearly now. Different sort of shapes and sizes, and then of course those ridges all the way down its back, and you can really see just by the patterning on its body that it does definitely look like a log if it is in the water. That long, very powerful tail. You look like you're missing a little bit of the tail, don't you think? It just ends all of a sudden. I wonder, maybe it's just the angle that it looks like it's slightly shorter than what it should be. But very, very powerful, using that as a fin and able to slice through the water and move at unbelievable speeds. Now, if you've ever seen a crocodile swimming quickly through the water, you must see how fast they can run on land. That is frightening. The way that they lift their body up. Look, he's lifting his leg up now. And then run. How cool is this? Now, one thing I'm really excited about is I would like to see some baby crocodiles. I have not seen a baby crocodile for very, 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 very long time, and they're beautiful. They've got the most amazing coloration. I always find with the young animals, though, their colors are a lot prettier than the adults because they're new. But a little crocodile's almost got a yellow-green eye, and they're more yellowish brown rather than the darker browns that you see on this fella here. And then they've got black spots, sort of like the adult too. And again, crocodiles need camouflage too, even though the sort of pattern of their skin makes them look like a log. Those other colors help too. Hello, William. I'm still waiting for my picture of your elephant cake. Remember, William is 8 years old. He had his 8th birthday the other day, and you've said to me that I'm the bravest guide in the whole wide world. Thank you, William. I'm glad you think so. I think everyone else thinks I'm probably maybe not the bravest. I'm scared. You think I am as well? Yeah. Ferg, you're being very nice to me today. I'm just joking. Ferg is always nice to everybody. So thank you very much, William. That's very kind of you. Now, because William, it was your birthday, I know that it is Tesla's birthday today. Tesla is 7. How great is that? Tesla's my blonde friend. I've got 2 blonde friends. And Tesla, it's not only the crocodile that's giving you a big smile to say happy birthday. I know you wanted to see some zebra, but I couldn't find the zebra that we saw earlier. They were still hiding away. But there's some hippos that want to say hello to you and want to say happy birthday as well, hopefully. Wouldn't it be nice if the hippos started calling? I think it would be grand. And I think if they do start... Oh my goodness, Tesla. Did you hear that? That wasn't me, that was the hippo. I think it's warming up. Perhaps it's warming its vocal cords before it gets into a real happy birthday to you. We'll have to see if those words fit in when a hippo makes its call. But we are getting to that time of the afternoon now where the light is fading. The hippos are going to get more and more active because they're going to start their adventure and searching for all the sweetest and shortest grass. But this is the tree that they pulled over. Remember I was showing you pictures of the hippos that had were eating the weaver's nests. This tree used to be covered in weaver's nests. There's now not one nest left here, and they pulled it all into the water. And I don't think it wasn't intentional. They're obviously just trying to get the nests off of it to eat it. But now it's perfect. It's actually great because during the day you can go and sit there and not worry about the sun. There's a little one. Hello, little hippopotamus. I think that's a bit deep for you to stand. And I just love how the hippos are right underneath the crocodile and neither of them seem to mind each other too much. That really is fantastic. And of course there's an unwritten rule between crocodiles and hippos. You leave me alone, I'll leave you alone. Hang on, I've got a new bird for maybe some of you. There's a pied kingfisher. Can you see where those buffalo weavers are? Oh, there we go. Look at that. I was trying to get a kingfisher on screen all morning. The brown-hooded kingfisher was evading me. But the beautiful pied kingfisher, which is one of the true hovering species of birds in South Africa. Remember, we've only got 2 true hoverers that don't need the wind to help them glide in one spot. So the other one is the black-shouldered kite. But how great is that? So this might be a new one. Carter, again, another one of our young viewers who has just started a bird list. Here we go. This could be a new one for you because I don't think in the last few days we've seen any pied kingfishers. So I hope that you are watching. And always let us know if it is a new bird for you. Hashtag Safari Live. Let us know. Take a screenshot, add it to an album. And eventually you could build your own bird book just about. Well, for identification purposes, that is. And that's another good way. Another good tactic to try and lure the birds is just to take screenshots and share them with each other. That's great. We have had a wonderful time, haven't you? Off it goes, but I'm going to send you back across to Tristan. He's been trying to follow Hosana. Let's go and see if he's going to give you another view.
Well, this is my sad face. Because Hosana has done what he's done to me now twice in a row and has gone straight south into Little Gowrie, and there's no more visual of him. He just literally got up and ran southwards, and I think it was maybe just too many cars at once. Unfortunately, because we're on this main section here, there was 3 other vehicles. Well, actually there was 4 other vehicles besides us, and so that's why we were trying to give him as much space as possible, but he just quickly darted over the road and went southwards into Little Gowrie once again. So that is where he's gone. But there was tracks for little Shongile around with him. So what I'm going to do is just backtrack onto where Hosana was, and you never know, maybe we get lucky with little Shongile somewhere in this area, but they have headed straight south and we can't even see the vehicles anymore, which is not ideal. But still very, very nice to see him, and really, really good, and I'm super glad that he was around and that he's looking as healthy as he is, and it was magnificent to have him in that sort of late afternoon light. It really was very, very pleasant indeed, and I hope you all enjoyed that as much as I did. It would have been lovely to have you all here on the vehicle with us, because it's such a special feeling watching a leopard. And actually, as just before he kind of ran away, he just went up onto this log here, quickly looked at us, and it was such a cool thing to see this leopard on this tree at eye level, and then he just darted down and off he went. So I was hoping he was actually going to lie up on the log like that, like I remember Sindile doing. Sindile used to love doing that. He used to find on this main road for some reason, well, not this particular one, but Triple M North, he used to love it there. Even though there was so much traffic, he used to sit often on these dead fallen over trees and just lie there the whole day. And I wonder if Hosana maybe in time will become like that, and we'll also find him lying on all of these fallen over trees the same way as his cousin did. Well, not cousin, half brother should we say, because he's basically a sister to, I mean he's a brother to Shadow, so could be his half brother. But still very, very special to see. And like I say, we have to thank Tayla for that. She really did find the right tracks, so I hope. So Leslie, you're saying that you're thinking that Hosana and Shongile, sorry, I was trying to get that out and battling a little bit, are not spending time together, or are spending time together. Sorry Alice, I didn't get that part, just broke up a little bit, but are spending time. Yes, well, loves the idea that they might be spending time together. Well, they definitely are spending time together. Yesterday they were seen twice together. They were walking around together all over the place yesterday. So in Little Gowrie and Hofmans, they were walking side by side apparently down the road. So they are spending time together, and it is part of their sort of way of life at the moment. I think what happens is that they kind of come together and then they break apart a little bit and come together, and it's probably to do with the fact that every time they're together, if they do indeed hunt anything, Hosana is going to steal it every single time. Being much bigger and bulkier than what Shongile is, he's definitely going to be the one that's going to be able to take over and get what he needs. So maybe that's why they then split apart and then they come back together again after a few days. But it's very cool that they have been spending time together. So Laurie, you're wondering if I'm surprised as to how well Shongile and Hosana have done with Karula sort of disappearing as early as she did in their lives. Well, no, actually not really. Leopards are one of the most resilient animals, and they never sort of surprise me in terms of the way that they are able to eke out an existence. And you know, the fact that leopards are found still in the city of Johannesburg, which is a thriving metropolis and busy and built up, and they go unnoticed and still every now and then get seen there, just is a testament to the fact that they have this incredible survival instinct. That, coupled with the fact that they are not animals that are that sort of fussy about what they eat. So something like a lion is going to be a little bit more sort of focused on hunting bigger animals because that's what it grows up with, whereas leopards, they don't mind eating things like termites, frogs, lizards, just to get them by each day. And so at the end of the day, they've actually built up this sort of resilience and this way that they can survive. So the fact that they were the age that they were at about a year old means that they had really, the hardest part was over. Had they been had Karula disappeared when they were still sort of 6 months, then yes, I would have been very surprised if they survived. But at the end of the day, also the area that they're in, they haven't had too much competition from other leopards. You know, Shadow and Tundi have been around, but not really pushing in the sort of heart of the areas that they inhabit. That, coupled with the fact that Tingana is the only real big male here, so they're not having to worry about Anderson here, they're not having to worry about quarantine, and that means that they've really got quite a sort of settled area that they can grow up in, and it makes life a lot easier for them. So in that way, I'm not surprised. What has surprised me though is the size of the animals that they've been able to catch. So just from the reports, you know, we unfortunately haven't seen them catching too many things, but you know, we know that Shongile caught a duiker the other day, and we know that Hosana has caught male impalas, and so that's an impressive feat for a young leopard. And I'm very, very impressed with the fact that they've been able to catch such large animals so early on. I would have thought that they would have survived more of these terrapins and small lizards and insects for a lot longer than they have. They've really done incredibly well to be able to hunt those mammals, and the fact that they've pulled it off once, they've only going to have gained massive amounts of experience from that, and soon we're going to see a situation where these leopards are definitely going to be catching with more success. And you know, Karula was such a fantastic hunter, and she was able to bring down so many meals for her young ones that they obviously learned very, very well in that year with her as to just how to hunt. And so the legacy of Karula is still continuing in terms of the ability to hunt, and we see it with Shadow and Tundi as well. Both of them seem to be able to bring down ridiculously big animals. You know, we've seen Tundi with fully grown female kudu, which at the end of the day is probably almost 5 or 6 times her size, and she still manages to do it. So you know, it's surprising just how well they've done, particularly little Shongile, because she was tiny in comparison to Hosana when Karula disappeared, and she manages to bring down sort of duiker and things like that. Is really a testament to Karula as a mother. So you know, I still have this kind of hope that one day I'll come around a corner and there Karula will be sitting in one of these marula trees, particularly in this area, you know, where Hosana and Shongile keep coming to around Treehouse Dam, and kind of keep hoping that one day there's going to be this female track and we're going to follow it, and there she's going to be sitting. But it's definitely, as time's going on now, less and less likely that she's around anymore. But you know, we still cling on to hope. She's a valuable part of our sort of history here, and you know, the fact that we don't know what's happened is just, I hope that we will actually see her. And another sort of, that's just kind of gotten me onto another sort of one of our interesting animals that we see here is Fang, and I still haven't heard any updates on Fang whatsoever. I don't know where she is or what's going on with her, and I'm really hoping that she does show herself soon. I know that she hasn't been seen at all since I was away and since the last time we saw her, so I'm hoping that she will come out at some stage. But what we do have is a Waterbuck on our right hand side. So now it would have been nice for this Waterbuck to have been here a little bit earlier, especially if Hosana was lurking around, because Hosana, even though he's probably would bite off a bit more than he could chew with a big Waterbuck like that, because Waterbuck is so big and bulky, it would be something that he would have liked to have stalked, and it would have been interesting to have watched his behavior around a Waterbuck like that. And what is interesting with this Waterbuck is that it is a young male, and very seldom do you see small males like this on their own. It's normally an animal that will spend time around its mom still a little bit longer, or at least in a bachelor herd. So I'm quite surprised. Maybe it was separated by Hosana earlier in the day, and that's why it's all on its own here. Now, we're going to sit and try and see if I can't listen out for any signs of maybe Shongile being around, maybe some alarm calls. And while we do that, let's go across to Tayla, who's still with her large crocodile.
We are, and I really just can't get enough of this beautiful crocodile. It is absolutely gorgeous, and the angles that we're able to get, it's just something amazing. I don't think I've ever quite seen a crocodile like we are right now. Hey, Ferg? This is pretty good, especially being able to see all its teeth like that. It's quite beautiful. Now you can also see the vertical slit that a crocodile has in its eye. You can actually see that very, very nicely. And it looks as though it's watching us very carefully. Whether it is, I'm not sure, but it is creepy. And look at it blink slowly. Are you just sleeping now? Probably is resting. Well, that's good that it's closed its eye. And it's not bothered by us too much. Now, Tanya, I almost asked you if Vlad, is this Tanya or Boris? Obviously, I got that completely the wrong way around. Tanya is asking the question. Tanya's not a crocodile. Sorry about that. I'm not sure how to tell the difference between Vlad and Boris, to be honest. I think they look exactly the same. And maybe it's because I haven't spent enough time with them. But I have not quite perfected the identification of crocodiles just yet. I'm still getting there, of course. It's very, very nice. You can see that, completely relaxed. It's really cool that we've now got a relaxed crocodile. He's comfortable with closing his eyes. But when you are the apex predator out in Africa... Now, Ruti, you're wondering, how do you know this crocodile is a male? I'm not actually sure. I've never been able to even identify a male from a female. It's easier with lizards, because lizards, often the males are brightly colored, but with a crocodile, the coloration is fairly similar. So you have to, well, from what I've seen and from what I've read about, you need to check, of course, their reproductive organs, which you are able to do underneath their tail. But I'm not going to walk over to that crocodile and test if it's a male or female. Fergus?
No.
Are you right? Are you sure?
Too cold to swim.
Too cold to swim, says Ferg. Right. Maybe we'll try in summer again. But we won't. But I think it's very, very difficult to be able to tell something like that just from looking at a croc like this. The other thing that you can maybe use to help identify you is, obviously, if you saw a crocodile with little ones, with little crocs around it, then you could be quite confident in saying that's probably a female, because the females look after their young to an extent. She actually goes in, and once they've started hatch, helps them back to the water again, which is amazing. But I do think that crocodiles are one of the most dangerous animals we have out here. We often talk about hippos and, of course, buffalo being exceptionally dangerous, but crocodiles go after people. That's one thing that we must remember, is they see us as food, and that gives me goosebumps. It sends shivers down my spine, just thinking that this crocodile is probably watching us, learning our routes. And luckily we're in the car, of course, so we're not really worried about it. But the hippos are getting quite active now too, and just bouncing about below the crocodile underneath the tree. The little one is every now and then is biting on that bush willow. There's lots of bubbles being blown, the odd call every now and then. I'm still waiting for them to call and say happy birthday to Tesla, because I think that they're being very rude. Tesla, I've asked them so nicely, and they just won't listen to me today. I don't know why. We'll have to have a meeting with them at some point. Now Tesla, something I want to do still, but it's getting quite dark, is I actually planned to make a happy birthday crown for you out in the bush. We will do that. Fergus is going to have to help me with his creative skills. So when we leave the dam, which we'll probably do just now, and we'll carry on and go and see what else we can find, we will go and see if we can make a crown. I'm just trying to think of what vegetation we're going to start to use, because there's not many flowers. Oh, listen, Tesla, there they start singing. And a stork. A woolly neck stork. How cool is that? There's a new bird. It might be a new bird for some of you. Beautiful, just soaring across the dam. A woolly necked stork. Plenty of bird life around here at the dam, and off it goes into the distance. Isn't that beautiful? Ah, very nice. Monotonous Mark. I love that you changed your name, by the way. I'm actually just going to reverse out of here. You were saying, oh, I've forgotten. Alice, what number was that? 89. I did get it correct, huh? 85. Sorry, you said that the pied kingfisher was number 85. Very nice. Well done. Your list is coming along quite nicely. Maybe you hadn't seen that woolly necked stork either, so that could be another one. Maybe you're going to be on 86 birds now after this evening. Right, it's getting a little bit dark around here. Let's see if we can start heading back. I need to make Tesla a crown, of course. Thank you to all the participants that were here, the hippos, the crocodile, the various birds that are also hiding away. Let's just check behind us. Make sure that I'm not going to drop.
Well, unfortunately, the gremlins at Chitwa Dam are sometimes there and about, and they can cause a few problems, so apologies about that. Now, we're just slowly snaking our way kind of back on the way that Hosana's tracks seem to walk around, and just hoping that maybe, just maybe, we bump into Shongile somewhere here. You never know. Maybe it's a long shot, but it's worth a shot nonetheless. I'm really wanting to see Shongile. It's been so long since I've seen her. I actually can't even remember the last time I saw Shongile. It must be at least 2 months ago by now. So I'm really keen to see how she looks and how big she is, and whether she's grown a little bit. And she's always got that sort of sad face when she looks at you. I don't know why. It just looks like these little dopey eyes, and so I miss that little face and seeing her around as often as we did, because when I first started here, she was almost a permanent fixture in this area. And so hopefully we can find her. It would be such a nice way to finish the day in seeing her. But what I'm going to do is, while we're about and while we're here, and you know, we're not very far, it's that time of the day that maybe, just maybe, Hyena Den might be active. I know Taylor checked it earlier, but I'm just going to make sure one more time. I was just saying to Craig that it's amazing, we were talking about it earlier, that Hosana often likes just to lie down and you can drive right past him. We must have driven right past him, because where he was found was not even sort of 10 meters from where we had driven. And it's all just shows you that it's about timing and luck, and you know, some days you get it right and you manage to sort of spot them, and other days you just miss them. And that's what makes being out here so much fun and so interesting, is that every single day is different, and you've got to have a little bit of luck. No matter how skilled a tracker you can be or anything like that, you have to have a little bit of luck on your side to be able to find particularly things like leopard. And so, you know, we're very fortunate that Tax was able to find him, and that we actually got to spend a little bit of time with Hosana before he just crossed out. Now hopefully our hyena den will be active. I'm not sure where all the hyenas are. So Brandon, you're wondering if Hosana ran into Tingana, what would happen? Well, I'm pretty sure they have run into each other. They must have in the last few months. There's no ways that Hosana and Tingana have not seen one another. The amount of distance that both of them are covering at the moment would tend to suggest that they have seen each other at some point. I would imagine that Hosana would be quite nervous, and he would probably in all likelihood try and trot away from Tingana and try and sort of move away from him, and you'd find that Tingana would probably watch him and realize through scent and also just sight that this is one of his offspring, and he's still too small to pose a threat, and so Tingana probably just ignores it and carries on his way. So that's what I would imagine would happen, but you never know with leopards, and we know that Tingana can sometimes be one of those that can be a little bit sort of funny with others, and we know that he ended up eating Shaluva at one point, which is a complete crazy situation, and there has been times where he's killed some of Shadow's cubs, and so you never know. Well, we suspect that it was him when male leopard tracks are in that area, so you never know. It's possible that he could be quite aggressive, but I would imagine that he still sees Hosana as almost a cub and not big enough yet to challenge him, and that's why he doesn't really worry about it. Also, Hosana is not scent marking or vocalizing that we know of, and therefore is not trying to challenge Tingana in any way. Right, hyena den, still not active. Where are you, hyenas? I don't actually see any fresh tracks from yesterday. There's only the tracks that I saw yesterday morning, so I'm not sure if there maybe are tracks somewhere. Maybe they're using a different den. I'm actually not sure. It's interesting to kind of see the tracks that are here, like I say, are from the night before, but there's no fresh ones, and I don't see any tracks for the young ones. Often when the den is really active, what you'll find is you'll come and there'll be big smudged areas where they've been lying down and resting and playing, and I don't see any sign of that at this stage. There's definitely hyenas that have been investigating here, but nothing sort of that indicates that the young ones have been playing around, and maybe, just maybe, they might have moved it. So we'll have to keep monitoring and just checking around and seeing. You never know, maybe they've moved towards the sort of Zoe's den site. It is possible. I just want to check this little sand patch here on our right, but you can see there's no real sign of them actually lying down. There are a few footprints here and there, but there's no real sort of track of them sitting and actually spending a lot of time. There's lots of tracks of birds that haven't been stood on top of, which I suppose could have been today, but there's no real sort of fresh indication that these hyenas have been lying in any of these areas. And this is normally a place where we used to see a lot of them sort of lying down and signs of them lying down. Right, well, if there's no adults here, we're not going to spend too much time around here, especially because we don't want to cause any panic amongst the cubs. So I think we're going to carry on, and I'm going to carry on towards Djuma Dam and Gallagher's shortcut like I was doing earlier to try and see if there's not any signs there. So Rachel, you think maybe the hyena cubs have moved on? Well, it's possible. Like I said, just before I went on leave, I had a situation where one of the Birmingham boys walked right here past them on this road and right past the den itself, and he would have probably been vocalizing, and maybe the scent of lions and the noise of lions being around in the last few days has sort of just made these hyenas a little bit more nervous, and they've maybe shifted their den somewhere. You never know. It does happen quite often, and so it is very possible that that is the case. I would imagine that the sort of signs are that there's still one that's moving around here. I don't know if all of them are still here, but maybe some of the other older cubs have been moved somewhere else and still the young one is still here. I'm not sure. It's until we see it, we're not going to know, but I wouldn't be surprised if they have moved it, given the pressures of the lions and the noise of the lions over the last sort of 10 to 15 days. There's been a lot more lion activity than we had sort of prior to that, and that would generally mean that we would have a situation where hyenas will probably start to move. The other thing about this den is it's on the sort of north-south route for the Birminghams. Pretty much every time a Birmingham crosses this property, they use this particular section. Quarantine is just to the north of us, and they take Quarantine and they come south, either down Weaver's Nest or they head along Twin Dams, but both of those are not too far from here, and that would mean that these two would, be able to, well, these hyenas would be able to hear these lions calling and know that they're very close most nights, and that will concern them, and you'll find that they maybe then start to move. So what I might do is tomorrow morning, I'm going to try and see if I can't come here, and if there's no tracks here tomorrow morning, I'm going to go and check the one off Zoe's and see if they maybe haven't shifted a little bit too further to the west, and see if there aren't any tracks around that area. Although the last time I checked there, it was completely barren. It didn't even look like there had been a hyena investigating there for a long time. So Chris Rogue, you say maybe they've moved to the den at Mvubu Road. Chris, I actually checked that den site, when was it? 2 days ago, 2 mornings ago, I think, or the afternoon, this first afternoon I was here, one of those days, I checked around there and there was no tracks, unfortunately, for any hyenas around that den itself. I went and looked. The reason actually why I went there is because I thought maybe Amber Eyes might have repurposed it for a den of her own if the hyenas weren't there, and so I went to just go and check and have a little look, but unfortunately there was no sign that I could see. Now what is that in front there? What do you see there? Hold on. Is it an Impala? I don't know, there's something in the road right in front of us. Ah, it's a kudu. There we go. I got a bit excited. I thought maybe it could be the form of a lioness on the road, and in this dingy light it was the right kind of shape, and the fact that it was kind of down and looking at us, I got very excited. So I'm going to try and see if we can find a lioness, but we're talking about Amber Eyes, so that was why I went there, to try and see if Amber Eyes was there, but there was no fresh tracks of hyenas at all. I tried to check around the den itself, and there's no visible signs of them going up and down. You know, when a hyena den is active, it's very easy to see because of the amount of foot traffic that you see on the sort of sides of it. You'll notice very quickly definite pathways coming down and disturbed soil on the actual mound itself, so there's no real sign of that, and I don't think they've moved there, but you never know. I'll go and check again. These things can happen overnight, and so maybe just because we didn't see it last time doesn't necessarily mean that they haven't moved there in the last day or so. So I'll definitely go and have a little look. It's maybe a bit dark to head there now, and so I'll probably leave that for tomorrow morning, but maybe that's what we do tomorrow morning, is a hyena den drive and try and check all the dens and see. Maybe we come right and find Gwen at a den or some of the others. It'd be interesting to see if we go check all of them as to where, if there is any signs at any of them. Hello Kudus, you gave me a heart-racing moment. I thought you were lions. So, Lucia, you're 12 years old and you want to know whether the animals would miss us if we disappeared, because you think that we would miss them if they disappeared. Well, I would say so, Lucia. I would definitely miss the animals if they disappeared. I would think that we would all be very, very sad if we didn't see these animals. These animals are what makes us all join together as the largest safari vehicle in Africa. Well, in the world, actually. And so we all come here because we have a love for animals, and if there weren't any, it would be a very, very sad day, and we'd all be probably very sad about it. In terms of the animals, would they be sad if we weren't around? Probably not. The reason why is because the animals, we've done so much damage to the planet, and we've brought about litter and pollution, and we've taken away forests and all kinds of areas for the animals to move, and we've restricted their movements, that they probably don't like us very much. At least in this kind of area, we try and look after them as best as possible, and so they probably like us a little bit more, but really in their minds, I'm pretty sure if there wasn't humans, they would probably be far happier, because they wouldn't be nearly as threatened as they are now, and particularly big things like elephants and lions and all of those that get hunted quite a lot and poached. Those animals will definitely be far happier if there wasn't people around. But that's why it's important for you to pay attention and to watch this, and to be able to hopefully one day teach all your family about the wildlife, and make sure that we all come together to protect everything, and make sure that in the future all of the generations that come and all the people to come after us look after our wildlife, and make sure that we have these national parks and have these kind of places that we can see these animals and teach our kids about them. So it's a very good thing that you're watching, and I'm very glad when I hear that you are watching, and so I hope that you'll carry on watching, and that you'll continue to enjoy the African wildlife and spread the message of how important it is to protect our wildlife and look after them. Right, how could you have run away? Oh, we have an Impala crossing. I didn't even see you. Hello, Impala. Good afternoon. Now, there's a beautiful sort of color in the sky. You can see there we've got these sort of oranges, and this is that coloration that's just at the end of the day. And it's amazing lately how the colors have gotten better as the day goes on. In about, I would say, about 30 minutes time, the orange becomes far more intense, and then you get these sort of purples and blues, and then into the dark sort of blacks as the sun goes down. And it's really been so pretty to watch these early winter sunsets over the last few weeks. Now I'm just going to wait for the traffic to clear, and we're going to give the Impalas the right of way. You can see there's another two boys, or two gentlemen should I say, that are crossing the road, so we'll give them right of way. And well, it's quite a nice moment just to sit and listen to the last sounds of the last animals of the day. And you can hear it's very quiet now at this time of the day. There's the odd sort of bird that's squeaking and making a noise, so there's a green wood hippo in the background, but other than that, very, very quiet indeed. Something about this time of the day that is very pleasant. Alright guys, well let's carry on and see what else we can find. Enough of that now. We've let our impalas cross over the road. Right, now I believe Miss McCurdy has found her vehicle again after taking a short stroll and has come back with something on her head. So let's go and have a look.
I have. Look at me go. I've made a crown. A different type of crown. I don't think I've ever made a crown before. I remember on Halloween James covered himself in guarri bushes, if I'm not mistaken. Now I've got an abundance of things on my head. You can see there. All taped in. There's guarri leaves, there's some leadwood, bush willow, large fruited bush willow, lots of things. And of course, have a look at Ferg's hat, because Ferg also made a hat. He looks quite lovely. He's going to look at him, he's climbing around. Spider-Man, we've got Batman and Spider-Man.
Spider-Man's here today.
Joining us here.
Hello everybody. I've also got the same thing. Mine's just not...
Nice. It's a beautiful hat.
Well, thank you.
It's very nice. Matching, huh? Don't you think it's
matching
great?
Hatsy.
Matching hatsies.
Ah,
so,
very nice.
We're going to sing a song to you now. Tesla, are you ready?
1, 2, 3.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Tesla. Happy birthday to you. Hip hip hooray! Hip hip hooray! Knock a hip hip hooray! There we go, Tesla.
Happy birthday, Tesla. I must go back to work. Bye-bye.
Gotta go back to work. I can just carry on slacking. That's okay. They don't need me for anything important, but of course a big happy 7th birthday, and I do love it that we do have so many young minds, youngins, if you will, the youth that are watching the show, which is really quite nice. And I know that when I was younger, I totally wish that there was something like Safari Live on. That would have been an amazing show. I would have been glued to my screen, and I probably would never have gone to school. So maybe it's a good thing that it wasn't on when I was little and growing up. But how great was that? I like my hat. I'm going to wear it for a little bit longer because I quite enjoy it. Actually, I blend into the vegetation very well, don't you think? Hey, I know, the animals are never going to see us coming. Ferg and I, they're just going to think there's a car with no people on it. Right, I think it's time for a spotlight. Alice, what do you guys think of myself and Ferg's hats? Byron's sitting, oh my goodness, I lost my hat. The tragedy. Hat down, we gotta go back and get it. Whew, that was close. Luckily I didn't drive over. My goodness, I've lost some pieces. Now let me put it back on. I think I'm going to actually have to lose some of the pieces. We'll just put it on like this. Rachel, you said that my hat is outstanding. Oh, well, we'll just leave the guarri bushes down on the ground now. Don't think I'm going to be able to put them back on. I'm glad you like my hat, Rachel. This is a one-of-a-kind piece. I think Ferg and I are going to have to change careers now. We're going to go into the fashion design market, particularly in making natural hats. Woven hats, so last century. You know, it's quite nice when it's all about, you know, not even, looks like it's just been put together with tape. That's the look that we're kind of going for. But what is most truly beautiful is the scenery that we've got at the moment, the skyline. Ferg, are you still putting the light on? Oh, we're just still attaching the infrared light properly, just making sure that it's nice and tight and doesn't fall off. But let's have a beautiful view. And she just dimmed that light. How great is that? And it sounds like the crickets are busy, busy, busy. Now, I'm going to sit quietly. You might be able to hear the crickets calling. Isn't that beautiful? Now, if I'm not mistaken, I think it's only the male crickets that make that call, announcing their territories and trying to find themselves a mate. But we're going to keep searching for other critters of the night now. And Tristan, has got a special surprise just for you.
Well, indeed we have. We've got... I wonder if this is not your zebras, Tayla, the McCurdy hurdy. Difficult to know. Now, I'm not going to have my lights on them for long, but it was just such a pretty picture. So for those of you that do screenshots, that sort of color in the sky with the zebras illuminated in the foreground is just so beautiful. And they are going to start disappearing, and I'm going to probably turn off my light because I don't really want to blind them. But I wonder if this is not the return of the McCurdy hurdy heading back towards quarantine, because they're crossing over Philemon's cut line and are slowly heading in a northerly direction. And just such a beautiful backdrop with those Drakensberg mountains and that burnt orange sky. What a way to see some zebras. Thank you for that, zebras. Now we're going to leave them and let them carry on, because we don't, like I say, want to shine lights on them too much. I wonder just if there's any signs of Amber Eyes around Gadago. We haven't heard her for the last sort of 2 nights. She was very vocal when Mfumo was seen. Tayla heard her roaring close to the lodge, and she was a lioness close to the lodge, and since then we haven't heard too much. So I wonder if she's not still there somewhere and is just looking after the cubs, and she must be bouncing around quite a bit between the Nkuhuma Pride and the cubs itself, or cub should I say. We're not sure yet as to how many there are, but it will be interesting to know how many she's got. Now I'm hoping that we're going to be able to find them, and hopefully the Nkuhumas will come back, because I think they're in Manyaleti at the moment. And so while we kind of head up towards where potentially Amber Eyes could be, let's go across to Miss McCurdy and see what she's doing with her flashlight.
Shining it from left to right, I suppose that's what we're doing. Looking for creatures of the night. Who's going to be our first creature of the night? Perhaps a bush baby? Maybe a chameleon. It's warm enough for chameleons to be around. Honey badger, because Fergus is always asking for honey badgers, and I promised him that one day I'll show him one. Maybe tonight is going to be the night for a honey badger. Now I've had to take my crown off, as you can see. It was very distracting to me. I kept wanting to look at the monitor and see what it looked like the whole time, so I just decided, because I'm not going to concentrate, let me just take it off. So that's what I did. I took it off, and now I can also move around without the leaves going ksh, 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 ksh. So my hat design had a serious flaw in terms of stealth. If you had to, well, give it a rating, it would probably rate 1 out of 10, 1 being the worst, 10 being the best, because it made so much noise. Maybe it would just be imitating the wind rustling through the leaves, who knows, but it was distracting me heavily. So we took it off. It's next to me. I'll probably hang it up in my room and let it dry out. That'll be quite nice when it's dry, the different colors that I think we'll get. Let's go. No, not this one, the next one. Now something that is my favorite thing to talk about is the change of season. And James, you are wondering what is... Ooh, hang on, before I even go into that, who was walking here? No, these are lion tracks from this morning. Sorry, I got excited there and thought maybe we were going to see a lion, but they're not fresh. So what is the tree that's leaves change color the most? I think that's something like that. It's a tough one, because I like the marulas, and even the marulas in this area are my favorite, just because they're that bright green and they're so tall and they're dramatic trees anyway. We saw this morning when we had the elephants below it, and for once the big marula was towering over the elephants, which was lovely to see. So I love that yellow color that they go, which is starting to happen now at the moment. But then also russet bush willow goes quite nice. You sort of get red and yellow, orangish color on the leaves before they fall. But out here everything's sort of very much the same. You know what? We don't have any mapanis here. However, The Mapanis are looking absolutely gorgeous at the moment. If you go into the areas of Kruger or northern Limpopo, or any area that has Mapani. So I think they're probably going to change my mind. The best African tree that changes colour in the coming into the winter months has to be the Mapani. Reds and yellows. It's just so dramatic, and because they form massive thickets of them, you can imagine how beautiful that really is. Like a rainbow of tree, but just with autumn colours. But it's quite pretty. Okay, I think we're going to go down Central. And oh, very nice. So we've got another birthday wish to you, Tesla, from Tula and, who is our other little friend, and Taco. And they say happy birthday, Tesla. That's very nice. Tula Ann, you'll have to tell us when your birthday is. Oh my goodness, it's your birthday tomorrow. How exciting is that? So we've had William, who turned 8. Now we've got Tesla, who's turned 7. How old is Tula Ann turning again? She's turning 5 or 6. I think it's somewhere around there, isn't it? 5 years old. So these are all my young friends, of course, and I'm your biggest fan, just by the way. I get so excited when I hear your questions coming through, and from Carter's another one of our young viewers too. I really do enjoy Skip and remembering all of you. See, I promise you, I do remember sometimes, so it's so nice to hear from you. So I really do love getting your questions, and I hope that we are teaching you some things. What's quite nice, what maybe you should do, is get a little notebook and actually start trying to keep some of the information that we tell you, and then eventually, my goodness, we'll train you up now while you watch to become guides. How cool would that be? We'll start training you at a very young age, and then you'll be the best guides in the entire world by the time you get to 21 years old. That's sort of the legal age that you can guide, just with the required driving permits. So that would be quite nice, I think. I wish I'd had someone to do that with. I used to go on safaris lots, obviously, but I never used to write things down, and only when I started guiding did I realize the importance of a notebook, and now I must have about 10 of them. I have a whole lot. Actually, I have a funny picture that I want to show you. Let me find it. I'm going to show you one of my first guiding books ever. I have to dig for it. It will take me 2 seconds to find. It's here somewhere. Maybe it's in my box. Yes. Let me just check. Look at this. Oh, that's a beautiful shot. Lovely silhouette. Nice. Little insects flying across the screen. The sky is truly a magnificent color tonight. It's very pretty. But I have my book that I want to show you. This, I have to tell you a funny story behind it. This book that you're seeing right here is the first notebook that I ever bought. I went into Grahamstown, which is a very small town just out in the Eastern Cape, not too far from where James lives in Kenton-on-Sea, probably about an hour's drive or so, maybe even 45 minutes away. And it was one of the first areas that the settlers actually headed down and settled in. So there's a huge European influence, lots of big churches. It's so beautiful. Anyway, so I walked into the only bookstore that they have there, and I was desperately looking for a big notebook that I could scratch things down. I couldn't find anything that just had blank pages, but I found this book over here. How great is that? And it's a play on Snoop Dogg, obviously. But I just think that is so funny, and I think it suits me as well. Every time I show anybody this book, they have a good giggle, and they say, yeah, Taylor, we wouldn't expect anything less than having a notebook like this. But let me show you what's in here quickly. There's so many things. There's fishing techniques. I'll scroll through some of it. There are different hunting techniques of snakes, and talking about the different parasites that we have out here. There's something about eyes, the vision of diurnal birds of prey. So I've got all sorts of things written in here, but this is from a very long time ago, right? But Tristan is still out driving around, and he's got his spotlight out, of course, looking for animals of the night. Perhaps he can tell you one of his tricks that he used starting off as a guide to help him remember all this information.
Well, we'll get to that just now, but what I was going to do is challenge Taylor to a chameleon spotting contest, but that would have been very unfair because I've just spotted one right now, so I can't really challenge her if we've just found one. But there on our branch is our chameleon that is sitting bolt upright, as you could say, and is I wonder if it's going to get vertigo by being straight up like that. And you can see how well they blend in, and it's amazing. And this is very strange to be seeing so many chameleons at this time of the year. Middle of June, we should be starting to see very few of them, but the last few nights it's been so warm that the chameleons have been out and about, and it's not been that difficult to find them. In fact, I think I've seen more chameleons in the last sort of little bit than I did much of the summer, so very, very cool to see them again. And this is a very large chameleon itself. It's quite a big one, and you can see that flap on the neck that gives it its name. Very, very exposed and prominent. Little guy, you're going to have to hide better than that. That's not a very good hiding place. Your friend yesterday was far better at hiding. But very cool nonetheless. Now, in terms of notebooks, Tayla, I'm very impressed that you still have your first notebook. My first notebook that I had, unfortunately, was drowned a few times in many a rainstorm and got to the point where pretty much all the ink had run. There was no sort of sign of anything anymore. The pages had all stuck together, and so that one got thrown away, and then went on to probably another 10 after that. And my problem is that I have these notebooks and then I battle to keep them. I keep losing them everywhere, and so I've resorted now to a system where I use my phone. So I have notes on my phone, and then I just write there's something, and it's generally little things that I can try and remember or try and sort of research. So things that I forget, then I use that. And of course nowadays as well, with all of you that help us out on Twitter and various other platforms that send us so much information about the animals and things that we see and stuff that we can't ID, and you guys become a huge important tool for us to be able to remember things. So thank you to all of you that do that. It's always a very big help when we hear from you, and particularly when it's things that we're unsure about and that some of you have experience with. There's been a number of different insects and varying other things that a lot of you have helped us with IDs on, so always very appreciative of that. And a lot of you have a vast knowledge of the animals around here and varying other things, and so you are probably our biggest tools, I would say. I don't know if Tayla would agree with me, but that's what I think, is that a lot of you help us incredibly well to remember things and to learn new things, and so you have all become our notebook. If that's okay with all of you, I hope so. Now, I haven't driven this road in a very, very long time. You can see it's hardly a road anymore. It almost looks like an off-road track. And so, well, when you haven't driven roads like this in a long time, maybe, just maybe, you get spoilt with something nice. And so, wouldn't it be amazing if we had a little aardvark pop out? This feels an aardvarky area. There's not too many termite mounds, but this long grass just seems like a great place for an aardvark just to pop out and quickly show its face and then gone again. The other animal that I would expect to see here would be a serval, so that's why I'm scanning around ever so carefully. Imagine if a little serval also poked its ears out. They are such beautiful cats as well, sort of similar markings to what you see on the leopard, but just a little bit more dainty, and those long big ears and long legs. And I've been fortunate enough to actually watch servals hunt a few times, and they are the most prolific hunters. I remember watching one when I was at Cheetah, and it was sort of in this open section, and in the sort of 10 minutes that we spent with it, because it was quite a relaxed serval, it managed to grab 3 different mice out of 3 different hunts. So it had a 100% success rate, which was quite amazing. Now, I'm going to carry on looking for my serval or aardvark, and while I do that, let's go across to Tayla and see whether she or not she's managed to find a chameleon yet.
Not yet. I don't seem to be having too much luck over the last few days with chameleons. I found an insect of some sort that keeps landing on my leg. Go away! I'm now trying to stamp the ground in order to try and shake it off of my leg. I'm just practicing for when I play the drums. What is that thing? I don't know music. What do you do when you press kickstand? There we go. Thanks, Ferg. I'm not musical at all. I'm really hopeless at anything. Well, it could be a motorbike. Yeah, it could be revving and changing gears and things like that. That's probably what it was. But that technique seems to work quite well. The good old stomp on the ground, and then it scares the insects away. Then they fly off. I don't know what it was. It could probably a moth or something fluttering about. But no, I haven't seen chameleons just yet. I don't know where they keep hiding. I'm sure they'll be out. Like I said, Tristan's seen one. He's in the lead of the chameleon competition. It's not cold, so theoretically there should be no reason why we're not spotting them. I'm obviously doing something very wrong, or have been doing something very wrong over the last few days. Might need to just come out and practice one night on my own. I'll have to see. Although Byron's back. Byron's very good at spotting chameleons too. And obviously our long-standing joke amongst all of you, and this one's from Brandon, has reminded us that... Are you okay back there, Ferg?
Yeah, sorry, I was trying to turn it.
No, I just...
I pressed the wrong one.
Oh no, I just hear that banging every now and then, and I see you holding on nice onto that camera so tightly. Just making sure that we're not going to lose Ferg and the camera. We'll just drive slowly. So sorry, Brandon, and you said it's about that time of the night where we see Tingana. It most certainly is. And at the start of drive, I said to you that I was going to come up this way. No, at the start of this morning's drive to check around Quarry Pants. I've done that now, a bit late, but I thought I'd just come and check anyway. But I haven't seen anything just yet. There was some Jennet tracks on the ground and that fresh scent of popcorn. I did get quite excited, and then I realized that it was just from a Jennet. So I stopped searching, and then I continued my focus on chameleons, which is not working. Maybe if I just don't think about looking for anything, I'll perhaps be able to find something, or something will just find me. I'm also okay with just bumping into the animals. I have no problem with that. It doesn't hurt my ego if I can't track them on foot. They are specialists in evading people. I'm going to roll over. I've got a spider web in my face though. It's just there. See if we can get a little bit closer so we can get a nice view. Now, Nightjar, don't you even think about flying, because I just about drive over them before they move. But there it is, that black spot on the road. It's not just a black spot, or not just a shadow. It is a Nightjar. Let's see which night. I can't see. Can we go a little bit closer just to be able to identify? There we go. I don't think that this is the fiery neck Nightjar, is it? I think this looks more like the square-tailed Nightjar. And they look very similar, but this one's got a bit more white on its wing, and I can't see that signature sort of rufous patch on the back of its neck, which is... Oh no, it is. That was a fiery neck Nightjar. As it turned its head, I don't know if you managed to see that very sort of subtle band that went behind its neck. It obviously had its feathers ruffled. You couldn't see it quite nicely. So no, I was incorrect the first time. Not a square-tailed. That was a fiery necked. Right. Let's go see what else we can find. Perhaps Tristan is going to add a second chameleon to his list and beat me hands down. But let's go and take a look.
Well, I don't know about a second one, Tayla. I think that might be asking for a bit much, really. I'm not sure if we're going to find one. I'll try my very, very best. Hopefully you'll be able to find one yourself, and then we'll have one from you and one from me, and it'll all be even, and everything will be wonderful then. That's what I'm hoping for, but you never know. Maybe we will bump into another chameleon along the way. This is also a good area to look for bush babies. Lots of terminalias here, and the bush babies love terminalias, so just looking around for them. There's also a pair of pearl-spotted owlets that hang around here, so it's always worth trying to see if they're not hanging about in the marula trees or on one of these low-lying sort of branches. It would be nice if one of them showed up. I quite like pearl-spotted owlets, especially with their little sort of false eyes that they've got. Nope, no pearl-spotted owlet in our marulas today, by the looks of it. Now, the marula that they actually nest in, by the looks of it, and where I can see that they sort of spend a lot of time and hear them quite often, is just up ahead on my left-hand side. So I'm going to just quickly have a look there and see if they're not sitting in the tree. I haven't heard them this evening. I've been driving very slowly along the sort of western side of quarantine, trying to listen out for them, but I haven't actually heard them calling. So I'm hoping that maybe, just maybe, now's the time of day when you do hear pearl-spotted owlets the most. They really do love to call at sort of dusk and dawn, and so maybe if we turn off we might hear them. So I'm going to do so when I get to the tree that I'm talking about. There's our lapwings are busy making a noise, and it's also interesting just to see how barren quarantine has become since the lions have been around as well. Much like the hyenas moving, they seem to have also all moved off the wildebeest and the impalas and the varying other animals. Now I'm just quickly checking all these trees. These marulas here on my left hand side is where they like to hang around. So this one here, and then the one just behind it is where I often hear them and see them sitting on the low branches just calling away. And so all these kind of areas on my left is where we should look for them. I can't hear anything, that's why I stopped, is just to maybe hear their telltale call that they make. But But alas, it seems like it's all quiet. It's actually a very pretty evening this evening, and the temperature is perfect for people that are on safari at the moment. They'll be loving this because the temperatures really haven't been too cold at all, and this evening is almost quite balmy. It's very, very pleasant indeed. I'm loving this weather that we're having. I'm trying to cling to the warmer temperatures as much as possible. Right, no pearl spotted owlets for us, so let's carry on and see. So Daniel, who's age 13. Now Daniel, you've asked a very complicated question that's going to be quite in depth, but you want to know, what does global warming mean for the animals? Well, it depends on what animal you are, but pretty much all animals, including us humans, are going to be negatively affected by global warming. What global warming basically means is that there's an increase in the Earth's temperature, well, the temperatures that we experience on Earth, and that means that there's going to change climate, it's going to change sea temperatures, which affects our rainfall patterns, as well as our movements of clouds, and that means that we're going to end up with big droughts, areas where there's going to be floods, and that affects everything. And so the animals are going to be heavily affected by it, and we can see that probably the biggest example is up in the North Pole, and where you find a lot of polar bears. The polar caps are melting so quickly that the polar bears are running out of places to live, and unfortunately, because the temperature is going up, areas where there was good habitat for them is no longer there, and they unfortunately are starting to die, and their numbers are dropping very quickly because of global warming. So global warming is a very bad thing for most of our animals. All the animals that are here, as we saw last year with the drought, that could be affected by the global warming phenomenon, well, El Nino. And so we're having a situation where it's even affecting the animals here in Africa, as well as the animals that are in the colder places. So global warming is a very big problem, and something that we really need to take notice of, because we don't want it to affect us for too much longer. Now, I did see some eyes somewhere here, so I just want to quickly check what those are. Ah, it's a hyena. Hold on. We don't have too much time. We're running out of time, so I'm trying to quickly just get there. I know we don't really normally off-road for hyenas, but I haven't seen a hyena in so long. I want to try and see. Quickly, hold on. We've got 20 seconds. Here we go. There we go. Hello, hyena. Now, I'm not sure who it is. You guys will be able to tell me once we sort of come stationary. But from myself, Craig, Tayla and Ferg, it's been so wonderful to have you, and what a way to finish our drive. We'll see you tomorrow morning on our sunrise safari.